At first it was just a name, Leo XIV, another pope, another white smoke, another day in the Vatican. But then something unexpected happened. People started talking, not just theologians, not just historians, but regular people in the comments. It started with simple questions. Is this the last pope? Wait, wasn't there a prophecy? Wasn't there something about 112 names? And slowly it grew. Comment after comment, video after video, a collective realization began to form, not inside the church, but in the margins of the internet. Strangers who didn't know each other, saying the same thing. This is too perfect. This matches too closely. This is starting to scare me, not because they were experts, but because they were paying attention. And sometimes it's the outsiders, the quiet observers, who see things before the system does. That's what this episode is about. Not what scholars have written, not what the headlines say, but what the people, the watchers, the readers, the doubters, the faithful, are sensing together. Because something unusual is happening. And it's not coming from a pulpit, it's coming from the comments. From people who feel like something is unfolding and no one at the top is willing to say it out loud. So we'll say it. We'll ask the question everyone else is dodging. Does Pope Leo XIV fulfill the prophecy? And if he does, what does that actually mean? Because the name Leo is not just symbolic, it's loaded. The last pope to use it, Leo XIII, was known for visions of spiritual war, a century of demonic assault on the church, and a prayer that still echoes through sacred spaces. Saint Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle. Now, over 100 years later, the name returns. Leo XIII. And the world is not the same. Neither is the church. We're in the middle of a storm, moral, spiritual, political, and a quiet man with a historic name has just taken the throne of Peter. No fire, no lightning, just silence. And that silence, it's what's making people nervous, because prophecy often hides in plain sight. Not in fire from heaven, but in patterns too consistent to ignore. And that's what the people are pointing out. Not theologians, not institutions, the people. From the corners of the internet, from forgotten threads, from comment sections no one thought to read. Leo XIV fits. This is the one. It's starting. So the question now isn't, is there a prophecy? The real question is, why are so many people from different places with no connection seeing the same thing? That's not coincidence, that's convergence. And if prophecy is truly converging with reality, then what comes next? Because if Leo XIV really is the final name, then the list is over. The clock is ticking, and the warnings are no longer theoretical. They're personal. Are you ready to find out what the comments are trying to say? When you start reading the comments, a strange thing happens. It stops being noise and starts sounding like something else, a chorus, a warning, a mirror. Because these aren't just reactions, they're signs. Signs that people, without coordination, without influence, are picking up on something deeper. One person writes, "He was born on the feast of Our Lady of Sorrows. That can't be random." Another replies, "He's not Peter by name, but he's Peter in spirit. Just look at his mission." Someone else says, "Do the math. He's the 8th pope of the modern era. In biblical terms, that's a new cycle." And then it snowballs. People start adding their pieces to the puzzle. Symbolism, dates, numerology, geopolitical shifts. They're not preaching, they're observing. And what they're observing lines up too well to ignore. Let's break it down. First, the name, Leo. Not used in over a century, not an accidental choice. The name Leo is tied to judgment, battle, and prophetic resistance. Leo XIII, the last to use it, is remembered for a vision in which the enemy, Satan, asked God for 100 years of influence over the world, and God allowed it. That century, according to many, was filled with darkness. 2 world wars, moral revolutions, decline of spiritual authority, rise of ideologies that killed millions. But now the century is over and Leo returns, not the same man, but the same name, the same legacy. What are the odds? One comment says, Leo XIII saw the devil ask for a century. Leo XIV comes after that century. That means we've entered the aftermath. Another comment replies, or the final battle. The connections don't stop there. Others notice the date of Leo XIV's birth. September 14th, the feast of the exaltation of the Holy Cross. A liturgical date loaded with symbolism, suffering, sacrifice, and the triumph of Christ over death. And on top of that, some claim he was born under the sign of Virgo, the Virgin, Marian symbolism. The woman of Revelation 12, the one clothed with the sun. So now we have a pope, born on a Marian feast, named after a lion, elected after a century of spiritual war, and sitting during a time of global unrest. Still think this is random? The comments don't. They're piecing it together, even when they don't fully understand why. Another pattern, the number 8. Some viewers point out that Leo XIV is the 8th pope since Vatican II. In biblical terms, 7 is the number of completion. 8 is new beginning, or final beginning, the 8th day, a new creation. But what if, in this case, it's the beginning of the end? The comments begin to reflect that fear. This isn't just a pope, it's a marker. It's like a seal has been broken. Whether you believe in the prophecy or not, this feels different. And that's the key word, feel. Because this goes beyond logic, beyond theology, beyond tradition. It's about instinct. And when people in different countries, languages, and time zones all start to feel the same thing, that's not just emotion. That's pattern recognition. That's the body reacting to a shift in the spiritual atmosphere. People say, I'm not even religious, but something about this pope unsettles me. Others say, I used to think this prophecy stuff was nonsense. Now, I'm not so sure. Because something about Leo XIV doesn't scream reformer. It whispers last stand. There's a sense of containment, as if he's not here to transform, but to protect. And that is exactly what the prophecy said. He will feed the flock amid many tribulations, not rebuild the church, not restore the golden age, just hold the line. And maybe that's what scares people the most, that this isn't the Pope of progress, this is the shepherd of survival, the quiet one who tends the fire while the storm closes in. And if that is true, if this is really the moment described by St. Malachy, then the list is complete, and the next event isn't another election, it's destruction. After this, the prophecy reads, the city of 7 hills shall be destroyed. Rome. But what does that mean? The comments have theories. Some speak of literal fire, war, terrorism, collapse. Others believe it's spiritual, a total loss of faith, of doctrine, of identity. One chilling comment says, the city won't be destroyed by bombs. It will be emptied by indifference. And isn't that what we're already seeing? Churches closing, confessions disappearing, truth being diluted in the name of tolerance. Another viewer writes, the devil doesn't need to burn Rome. He just needs to make people forget what Rome was. The comment section becomes a collective lament, not just fear of the future, but mourning of the present. Because the church, for many, is already changing beyond recognition. And Leo XIV, he may not be the cause, but he may be the confirmation, a sign that we've crossed the final threshold, that the time of voices is ending, and the time of silence has begun. That's what the comments are pointing to. Not hysteria, not delusion, but convergence. A moment when too many dots line up, and ignoring them becomes a choice. So ask yourself, if people who've never met, never studied theology, and never heard of Malachy are all sensing the same thing, What are we ignoring? And more importantly, why? At some point, the comments stop being commentary. They start becoming confession. You can see it in the tone. What began as curiosity becomes concern. What started as a theory feels like a revelation. And beneath the theories, the Bible quotes, and the esoteric connections, something raw begins to emerge. Fear. Not the kind that makes you scream, the kind that makes you pause. Because if Leo XIV truly fits the prophecy, if his presence is not a coincidence, but a fulfillment, then what does that say about the times we're living in? Are we the generation that witnesses the fall? Not the fall of an empire, the fall of meaning. Because when Rome falls in spirit, it's not just about the church, it's about a collapse in conscience. Truth is replaced by trend, sacrifice replaced by comfort, holiness replaced by performance, and the people, they feel it. One comment simply says, "I'm afraid for my children." Another says, "This is the first time I've actually prayed in years." The deeper you go, the more personal it becomes, because this isn't just about prophecy anymore. It's about identity, about what happens to a world when the spiritual foundation is eroded. And here's the twist. The moment everything flips, maybe Leo XIV isn't the destroyer. Maybe he's the final witness, the one who stands at the door as it begins to close, not pushing it shut, not holding it open, just standing there. A reminder, a sign, a warning. Because the prophecy never said he would cause the destruction, only that he would reign during it. And that changes everything. It means we're not waiting for the catastrophe. We're inside it, not with smoke and fire, but with silence, with people walking away, with churches being sold, with faith being edited to fit the mood of the moment. And the Pope? He doesn't stop it. He can't. He's not the savior, he's the shepherd. And sometimes shepherds don't fight the wolves. They just hold the flock together, long enough for the remnant to survive. This is where the comments become sobering, because now people aren't just asking if Leo XIV is the last pope. They're asking if they're ready, and many aren't, because we've spent so long in comfort. That discomfort feels like disaster. We expect the end to be sudden, but what if it's slow? What if it's been happening for decades? And what if Leo XIV is the final symbol, not of collapse, but of the fact that the collapse has already occurred? You might think that's dramatic, but then again, so did everyone in Noah's time, until the rain started. So did the citizens of Jerusalem, until the walls broke. So did the crowds at the cross, until the sun went dark. Prophecy is not about panic, it's about perspective. And when you lose that, you stop seeing signs. And when you stop seeing signs, you stop preparing. And when you stop preparing, you fall. That's the real danger, not fire from the sky, but the comfort that lulls you to sleep while the roof is burning. So ask yourself this: why would so many unrelated people, across platforms, across languages, all feel the same tension? Why would the same pope, the same list, the same symbols keep showing up in their dreams, their posts, their thoughts? What are we being invited to see? Because maybe prophecy isn't loud for a reason. Maybe it whispers, so that only those who are awake can hear it. It's strange, isn't it? How something as simple as a comment can carry so much weight. It's not a sermon, it's not a book, it's not a prophecy carved in stone, just a sentence written by someone anonymous at 2:47 a.m. on a video most people scroll past. But somehow it hits you, because you feel it too. That ache, that shift, that quiet whisper that something isn't right anymore. Not in the world, not in the church, not even in your own soul. And when hundreds, thousands of people start saying the same thing, it's no longer just a coincidence. It's a call, not to panic, but to wake up. Because maybe Leo XIV really is the final pope. Maybe not by title, not by name, but by timing. Maybe he's the shepherd written into the last line of the list, the one who reigns during the unraveling. And maybe the prophecy isn't about predicting doom, but reminding you that time is precious, that comfort can be dangerous, that silence can be sacred or damning. Because the real destruction may not be fire, it may be forgetfulness, a world that forgets truth, forgets reverence, forgets who it is. And maybe Leo XIV is the last stop before the forgetting becomes final. That's why this matters. Not because a list might be real, but because you might be part of the generation that watches it end. You don't need to be a scholar. You don't need to know Latin. You just need to pay attention to what's shifting, to what's being lost, to what's still whispering beneath all the noise. Because truth doesn't need volume. It only needs someone willing to listen. And if you're still here, maybe that someone is you. So don't walk away from this unchanged. Don't brush it off like just another internet theory. Sit with it, question it, talk about it, pray about it. And if this message reached something deep inside you, don't let it fade. Subscribe to the channel. We're going to keep digging. Not into panic, but into patterns, into signs, into truth. Like the video, if it moved you, share it with someone who needs a wake-up call, and drop a comment below. Not just what you think, but what you feel. Because the next part of this story might be the one where you step into it.